The ticket price. This does not shock me at all. What did I say earlier? The WNBA was about to F around and find out, and these rival teams were going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, they're finding out.
The lights went down, the crowd erupted, and for a moment, it felt like the WNBA had finally broken through the ceiling. After years of grinding for attention, fighting for packed seats, headlines, and cultural relevance, everything suddenly clicked. Viewership numbers were off the charts. Tickets were selling out. The energy stretched from arenas to social media, from living rooms to national broadcasts. It wasn't just hype, it was history being made. But then, just like that, one small headline changed everything. One player ruled out for a few weeks. No major injury, no league-wide announcement, just a brief update, and the entire atmosphere shifted. That single update triggered a chain reaction no one saw coming. Ticket sales dropped, engagement dipped, merch numbers slowed. What looked like a thriving empire suddenly showed cracks. It was like pulling one brick out of a massive tower and watching the whole thing tremble. And in that moment, a harsh question came into focus. Was this meteoric rise in women's basketball truly a sign of long-term growth? Or was it all riding on the back of one transcendent superstar? The answer wasn't pretty. The drop-off exposed just how much of the league's momentum hinged on one name, one presence. And now, that reality is forcing the WNBA into an uncomfortable position. A wake-up call that its future might be far more fragile than fans and executives want to admit.
The Caitlin Clark effect has been a net positive for the WNBA and all of its teams. But the star guard expected to miss a minimum of 2 weeks. The league will see the flip side of her impact, and there are already initial data points. This is front office sports, no conspiracies, no BS from them. Statistical data.
Before the rumors of her absence even started, the WNBA was riding a tidal wave of momentum. Every Indiana Fever game had become must-see entertainment. Tickets were vanishing fast, some selling for over $80 just to get in the door, with courtside seats going for even more. The buzz wasn't just hype, it was real, electric, unstoppable, and it pushed opposing teams and arena officials to make bold, high-risk decisions in hopes of cashing in. Take the Chicago Sky, for example. They didn't just tweak their game plan, they went all in. They moved their showdown with the Fever from their intimate 2,400 seat Wintrust Arena to the massive 21,000 seat United Center. That's a venue built for NBA stars and sold out concerts. And they were betting one thing, that Caitlin Clark's star power could fill every single seat. This wasn't just about logistics, it was a statement, a full-blown gamble that hinged on one player's ability to pack the house and light up the league. Because make no mistake, everyone knew who the fans were coming to see.
To hit the panic button 48 hours after news hits that Caitlin Clark is injured and she'll be missing 2 weeks, the market has responded and the market has told the WNBA, we don't want this. We want her, but we don't want this.
Then came the moment everything shifted. What started as a quiet rumor quickly erupted into full-blown headlines. Caitlin Clark, the unstoppable force behind the WNBA's momentum, was out, sidelined. And just like that, the energy surrounding the league collapsed. The reaction wasn't slow, it was instant. The market didn't hesitate. It responded with a cold, harsh truth. Without her, this version of the WNBA simply didn't hold the same weight. The silence that followed wasn't just disappointing, it was deafening. Fans didn't show up. Prices nosedived. The demand that once felt limitless disappeared overnight. Just look at that Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game at the United Center. What was once one of the hottest tickets in the league, starting at $86, plummeted to just $25 in a matter of hours. That's a jaw-dropping 71% drop, practically unheard of, and a brutal gut punch for organizers who'd gambled on a sellout. And it didn't stop there. The same crash repeated when the Fever played the Washington Mystics on the road. Empty seats, slashed prices, a harsh reality setting in. This wasn't just a one-off, it was a wake-up call, loud, clear, and impossible to ignore.
Chicago Sky can't sell out their own 9,000 something seat arena like it is. They couldn't when they were kind of decent. They're a dumpster fire now, and now that Caitlin Clark is injured, oh, the ticket prices for the Fever and Sky game just plummeted to Hades.
What was once a hot ticket, going for $41, quickly lost its shine, dropping to just $22. That's a staggering 47% dive, the kind of drop that leaves both fans and front offices stunned. And it wasn't just one game. Zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Across 5 major Indiana Fever matchups over a 2-week stretch, average ticket prices had been soaring at around $137. But after the injury news hit, that average crumbled to just $80, a sharp 42% decline in barely a fortnight, proving just how brutally the market reacted.
They stink now. Yeah, it's about me too. No, it's not, and this is proof.
This wasn't just a small dip in interest. It was a thunderous statement from the fans. No Caitlin Clark, no tickets. The demand was crystal clear. People weren't just coming for the WNBA. They were coming to see her. And when she wasn't on the court, the whole vibe changed. You could feel it. The buzz was gone before the game even started. It was like someone let all the air out of the building. That eerie silence told a much bigger story. The league's rise in popularity, the one everyone was celebrating, wasn't as secure as it seemed, because behind all the hype was a fragile truth. This massive surge wasn't being driven by broad interest. It was riding almost entirely on the shoulders of one unstoppable star.
To games over the next 2 weeks have dropped 42% since Caitlin Clark's injury announcement, an average ticket price of $137 all the way down to $80.
This wasn't just about a superstar sitting out a few games. It was a harsh, unfiltered spotlight on the WNBA's deepest cracks. The numbers didn't lie. Cold, brutal, and impossible to ignore. They confirmed what many suspected, but few dared to say out loud. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the engine driving the league. It's as if the entire operation is running on her fuel, while everyone else is just riding shotgun, hoping to catch some of the heat she generates. The surge in popularity, the packed stadiums, the viral social clips, the rising ticket sales, it was all celebrated as proof of a league turning a corner. A brand new era, they said. A sign that women's basketball was finally earning the respect it deserved. But now, this moment exposed a painful truth. Nearly all that momentum was tied to one generational star, and when she's not on the court, the league doesn't just lose excitement, it loses identity. Because beyond Caitlin, the WNBA still lacks a full lineup of equally bankable stars. No deep roster of standout personalities to carry the torch when she's gone, and that's the real issue, the kind no highlight reel can fix.
People are selling their tickets, definitely can't get face value, so what do? They just continue to lower and lower and lower and lower and lower the price. This isn't all resellers, folks. Hate to break it to you. A majority of these are everyday normal people. A majority of these are everyday normal people who watch Caitlin Clark in Iowa, watch her in her first year in Indiana, said, man, I want to watch that. I want to go to those games. I want to experience that. They won't be able to experience it. Time to sell.
It was a reality check the league couldn't ignore. If just a brief absence from Caitlin Clark could cause this kind of widespread crash in interest, what did that say about the true strength of the WNBA's foundation? It wasn't just about 1 or 2 games. It was a red flag waving across the league's entire business model. The ripple effect hit everything. Ticket sales, hype, energy, and the league's financial future. Even the matchups that were meant to be blockbuster events, like the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever, which had come to symbolize the WNBA's newfound momentum, suddenly lost their shine. The energy disappeared. The big dreams of sold-out arenas turned into the harsh reality of rows of empty seats. It wasn't just numbers dropping, it was an atmosphere collapsing, and it was obvious. Even casual fans could feel it. The buzz was gone. This wasn't your typical star injury where people still came out of loyalty or habit. This was different. This was serious. The league's heavy bet on Clark's superstar pull had backfired, and it was playing out in real time. Without her, the magic faded. The idea that one star could lift the whole league, it collapsed under pressure, and suddenly, many teams were left scrambling, fighting to stay relevant in the silence she left behind.
I mean, it's more statistical proof, data, to confirm exactly what we've been saying, that Caitlin Clark is driving this whole ship, this whole bus. She's driving it, everybody else get in the back. get in the back.
With Caitlin Clark suddenly out of the spotlight, the attention didn't fade. It just shifted, and it landed squarely on Angel Reese. To many, she was the natural heir to the moment. Her bold presence, undeniable charisma, and trend-setting style had already made her a household name. Off the court, she had built a powerful brand, magnetic to fans who saw her not just as a player, but as a cultural force. She was always part of the conversation, always in the headlines, and never afraid to make bold claims, including the now famous statement that people watch the WNBA because of her. It was confidence. It was swagger. And with the league suddenly missing its biggest name, that kind of bravado was exactly what it needed. Desperate for someone to step into the vacuum and keep the momentum alive, the WNBA turned its focus toward Reese, hoping her fame could fuel the same kind of buzz, sellout crowds, and national attention that Clark had delivered week after week. Now, the big question loomed. Could Angel's star power actually carry the weight of the league's expectations?
The marquee matchup in the WNBA, like it or love it, rivalry or not, Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that is the marquee matchup in the WNBA, and those tickets are crashing just as well. From $86 48 hours ago to $25. And by the time June 7th rolls around, it might cost you a bag of Skittles and some Lay's potato chips to get in there.
But this is where the numbers began painting a much different and far more uncomfortable picture. Once Caitlin Clark was no longer on the court, all eyes turned to Angel Reese. The pressure was enormous, the expectations sky high. This was her moment to prove she could generate the same buzz, drive ticket sales, and command the spotlight just as fiercely. But the market spoke, and its message, loud, clear, and brutally honest, not quite. Take that highly anticipated Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game at the United Center. It was supposed to be a historic showdown, a bold showcase of the Reese versus Clark rivalry in an NBA-sized venue. The league had big dreams for this one, a packed house, a marquee moment, a declaration that women's basketball had truly arrived. But the second Clark was ruled out, that dream unraveled. Ticket demand nosedived, the excitement disappeared almost overnight, and the massive arena that was supposed to echo with energy felt hollow. Far too big for the occasion, and it wasn't just that one night. This wasn't a fluke. The trend spread quickly. Even other spotlight games, like the Fever versus Mystics matchup in Baltimore, couldn't escape the dip. Reese was heavily promoted as the star attraction, but when a $41 ticket dropped to just $22, a 47% plunge, the message became crystal clear. Reese's presence alone wasn't enough to spark the same wildfire Clark had ignited. Even in cities where Reese had deep ties and headline billing, the Fever pitch just didn't follow. The hype was there in theory, but the fan frenzy, that was missing.
And we have plenty of evidence that proves Angel Reese is not qualified to carry the league.
Then came the uneasy silence. Angel Reese, known for being outspoken and confident about the massive attention she commands, remained noticeably quiet when ticket sales plunged and fan interest sharply dropped after Caitlin Clark's injury. That silence sparked uneasy questions among league insiders and fans alike. Was Reese deliberately staying silent to dodge tough, uncomfortable questions? Or did her quietness unintentionally expose the crushing weight of expectations she was struggling to handle? Pressure so intense it might have overwhelmed even her. Either way, Reese found herself caught in a tough spot. She's undeniably a headline-grabbing star, a public figure with a strong presence. Yet the demand for her to fill Clark's shoes and carry the league's financial burden alone was immense. The numbers were clear and unyielding. She simply couldn't do it on her own. The stark gap between Reese's celebrity status and her ability to consistently drive ticket sales compared to Clark was impossible to ignore. This created a clear divide, a difficult reality that both Reese and the league would have to face head on.
The get-in tickets for the Fever's rivalry game against the Chicago Sky on June 7th are down 71% from $86 to $25.
You might be wondering, what about everything Angel Reese achieved in college? Her undeniable highlights at LSU, those viral moments that captured millions of eyes, and her massive social media following that outshines many professional athletes. Shouldn't all that effortlessly translate into WNBA success? It's a reasonable assumption to think her star power and personal brand would naturally carry over and command the same level of attention. But the harsh truth, as revealed by the recent WNBA market slump, tells a very different story. Caitlin Clark holds a nearly unmatched ability to draw crowds, regularly packing arenas to capacity, driving unprecedented ticket demand, and smashing records with soaring prices. In sharp contrast, Reese's impact, at least so far, hasn't shifted the needle in the same way when it comes to ticket sales and broad economic influence across the league. This isn't meant to diminish Reese's undeniable skill, fierce competitiveness, or magnetic charisma. She's unquestionably a captivating athlete and a star in her own right who thrives in the spotlight. However, the league's fragile reliance on a single player has been exposed, revealing the clear limits of even its strongest backup option, the widely recognized second most popular star.
These prices are going to continue to drop.
Wednesday's Fever game versus the Mystics at CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore has a get-in price of $22.
The brutal reality, glaringly exposed by the market's reaction, highlights a crucial distinction that many overlook. There's a world of difference between being a star and being a genuine draw. You can be undeniably famous, a household name with millions of followers, and yet still lack that unique power to pull in huge crowds or massive viewership. As some blunt critics have put it, you can be famous and still fail to attract even the smallest audience. This harsh truth became the WNBA's costly lesson. The league's quiet bet on Angel Reese to act as a strong secondary pillar, capable of carrying a significant chunk of the league's economic weight without Caitlin Clark, turned out to be a serious misstep. Ticket prices plunged, attendance dwindled, and the once vibrant energy in arenas noticeably faded when Clark was sidelined. Despite Reese's huge popularity, she simply couldn't halt the decline. This wasn't just about how a single player performed on the court, it was a glaring failure of the league's broader marketing strategy and its dangerous dependence on just a handful of stars.
This game get-in was like $100 at one stage. This was $100 at one stage. Let's go one ticket. Or well, is it two tickets? Two tickets. Let's just see what it costs for court. Look at how many, oh my god, look at how many people are selling tickets.
Beyond the immediate fallout, a more profound problem came into focus. The very narrative around the league's overall quality. When its biggest star, the player who transformed previously overlooked matchups into must-watch events, was sidelined, attention shifted from individual talent to glaring systemic flaws. The big question became, if the league's product is truly strong, why does it rely so heavily on a single player to capture interest? The mounting pressure placed on Angel Reese to carry this burden only highlighted just how fragile the league really is. Too dependent on one name, lacking a broad, resilient appeal. This situation sent a clear message. In the ruthless arena of professional sports, fame alone doesn't automatically translate into consistent financial success.
But I'm like, I didn't realize just how bad it was gonna get. I didn't realize how bad. Like, they all moved arenas and everybody's trying to sell their tickets. Like, if you look, the get-in price is $23.80. $23.80 is the get-in price for tomorrow night.
Financial fallout from Clark's absence ran far deeper and was far more threatening than most casual fans might grasp. The impact went well beyond the obvious drop in ticket sales. Empty seats in the arenas translated into massive losses across multiple revenue streams. Think about the thousands lost from merchandise sales, the quiet food and drink stands, the concession lines that once buzzed with eager fans now standing still. These high-margin income sources, vital for both teams and venues, vanished almost overnight. It's important to remember, the WNBA was already operating at a loss, reportedly bleeding $40 million just last year. This wasn't a minor hiccup, it was a severe financial crisis that had NBA owners, many of whom have stakes in WNBA teams, on edge. These savvy investors, used to profitable ventures, began demanding answers. When, if ever, will this league stop being a money pit and start turning a real profit? For many, this growing frustration signaled a critical moment, where the patience of financial backers was running dangerously thin.
Even though the mainstream media wants us to believe that Angel Reese is a huge star, we have years of evidence that proves otherwise. Like I say all the time, there is a huge difference between a star and a draw. You can be a star, You can be famous and still not be able to draw flies to a fresh turd.
Adding to the growing unease is the looming negotiation of a new media rights deal, a multi-million-dollar lifeline crucial to the league's survival. The potential value of this contract, a key pillar for any professional sports league's financial stability, now hangs precariously on Caitlin Clark's steady magnetic presence on the court. If this deal, which was expected to deliver a significant financial boost, comes in lower than hoped because their biggest star is sidelined, the fallout would be devastating. It would mean even tighter budgets for teams, fewer resources for players, and unbearable pressure on the league to prove it can thrive independently without relying endlessly on financial support from its parent organization. The entire business model, once built on promises of steady growth and rising profits, now stands exposed as dangerously fragile, relying almost entirely on the health, availability, and unmatched appeal of a single extraordinary player.
Angel Reese and the WNBA have been using race to bring awareness to an incredibly bad product. Once you remove Caitlin Clark from the equation, there's no reason for people to watch this league, which is why people haven't been watching Angel Reese throughout her career.
Then there's the daunting reality of the international market looming large. Rumors are swirling about Caitlin Clark's potential opportunities overseas, in countries where basketball leagues are booming and backed by vast financial resources. In some of these places, she could reportedly earn an eye-popping $20 million annually, an amount the WNBA, with its current salary limits and financial setup, simply can't compete with. This isn't some distant, unlikely scenario. The prospect that the league's brightest, most influential star might walk away for a more lucrative contract abroad is a stark warning. It highlights just how fiercely competitive the global basketball landscape is when it comes to talent. If Clark or other top players who see firsthand the WNBA's financial constraints decide to take their game elsewhere, the league could face devastating consequences. This would not only mean losing a star player, but risking the very engine that drives the WNBA's growth. It threatens to undermine the league's ability to attract key sponsors, hold on to its growing fan base, and maintain crucial broadcast deals. Ultimately, it puts the entire future of the league as a premier basketball destination in serious jeopardy.
They're losing merchandise sales, they're losing food sales, they're losing beverage sales. They're losing big. They took a big gamble to get into that arena, and they're losing big because it's not going to be full, and those people aren't going to be buying things there.
The WNBA's current situation painfully echoes a familiar pattern seen in other sports leagues that have unknowingly built their entire brand around one transcendent superstar. Take Major League Soccer, MLS, and Lionel Messi, for example. When Messi misses a match, ticket sales plummet and opposing teams scramble to keep fans interested and preserve the buzz leading up to the game. The WNBA finds itself in that exact vulnerable position now. It's become glaringly obvious that leaning so heavily on just one or two star players isn't merely a gamble. It's a strategy fraught with danger that could lead to long-term consequences. The league has made efforts to elevate other rising talents, hoping to develop new stars who can generate widespread excitement. Yet, no one has come close to matching Caitlin Clark's unmatched influence at the box office or her ability to captivate audiences on national TV.
They're getting a new media rights deal. That thing won't be worth shit if Caitlin Clark was to either get really injured and couldn't play or decided to just say, I'm not going to play here anymore. I'm going overseas. Where, by the way, they would pay her, my God, some of those countries might pay her $20 million a year to come over there and play. And I'm not kidding.
This intense reliance on one player has sparked some truly contentious debates, exposing a raw sense of urgency within parts of the league. Some insiders have even seriously suggested that Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, should receive special treatment from referees, what they call superstar calls. This means officials might deliberately favor her with calls, similar to what happens with NBA legends or top global soccer stars, to keep her in the game longer and protect her from fouls. Whether you agree with the fairness or ethics of this idea isn't the main point. The fact that such a desperate, borderline extreme discussion is happening at all reveals just how keenly aware the league is of its fragile position. It's a clear sign that the stakes have never been higher, and the old ways of managing the game might no longer be enough. The danger of depending on just one star player has become painfully obvious.
It's going to be real tough because even if you're out 3 weeks, you're missing a lot of game, a real portion of the year. All right. The ticket prices. This does not shock me at all. What did I say earlier? The WNBA was about to F around and find out, and these rival teams were going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, they're finding out.
What started as an immediate crisis when Caitlin Clark went down has now evolved into a deep existential challenge for the WNBA. How can the league strategically adapt? How does it develop a broad, diverse lineup of true stars? And how does it secure a stable future when its current foundation feels so fragile? Hoping for another once-in-a-generation talent to simply step up and fill the gap isn't a strategy, it's wishful thinking. The data shows that even the most famous players after Clark haven't been able to keep demand from plunging. The WNBA needs to actively work on expanding the spotlight, nurturing and promoting multiple standout players. Without doing so, it risks falling into this damaging pattern every time a marquee player is sidelined. This goes beyond a single injury or a rough patch in ticket sales. It's a fundamental flaw in the league's approach.
He was the league. Keep in mind, my point I'm trying to get to is when it came out that the league lost $40 million last year, NBA owners that own portions of these WNBA teams were starting to get angry and ask a lot of questions about when is this league ever going to make money. So that tells you there was starting to be a little life support situation happening when the owners were starting to get angry about never making a profit on this league.
The league now faces a critical challenge: how to shape its future, safeguard its foundation, and secure long-term survival. As the dust begins to settle after Caitlin Clark's sudden but temporary absence, the need for meaningful structural change has never been more urgent. The stakes are clear, and the consequences of standing still are downright frightening. The WNBA's very survival and its ability to grow on its own depend entirely on expanding and diversifying its appeal beyond just one superstar.
Caitlin Clark, they can make money with the new media rights deal. If that was to fall through for some reason, the league is cooked. Close it down. Or Caitlin Clark could, I don't know, call up Elon, start her own league.
The verdict isn't coming from critics. It's written in the harsh, unyielding language of market data. Caitlin Clark's unmatched influence on the WNBA has been exposed by the dramatic financial fallout following her brief absence. This sudden shift cast a revealing light on other talented players who, despite their skills, haven't matched her economic impact. Her college career, already legendary for record-breaking feats, hinted at this extraordinary drawing power. Now, in the professional arena, the numbers tell the real story. With Clark sidelined, ticket prices for Fever home games dropped by 42%, and the much-anticipated Sky matchup suffered an astounding 71% plunge overnight. Games that once promised sold out, electric atmospheres now face empty seats. A clear and undeniable message straight from the fans. Even as Angel Reese and other captivating stars take center stage, the hard facts remain. No one else comes close to matching Clark's ability to attract crowds, spark excitement, and move the financial needle like she does.
So anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Caitlin Clark is far better of a basketball player and has made such a tremendous impact in a greater number, more so than Angel Reese. Everybody knows that. Her college career was better. The stadium sales, the WNBA popularity has gone up because Caitlin Clark.
This isn't just a minor hiccup, it's a massive, unmistakable wake-up call for the WNBA to completely reevaluate how it builds its market and secures its future. At its heart lies a crucial question about the league's business model. Can it carve out a sustainable, independent path that doesn't rely so heavily on the health and presence of a single superstar? Or will its fate always hinge on the brilliance and constant availability of just a few elite players? The unwritten story of the WNBA's future calls for swift, deep change, a broadening of its appeal, and a commitment to nurturing fresh generations of true fan magnets. If it fails to act, the league's brightest moments will forever be overshadowed by its most glaring weaknesses, leaving a league full of promise staring down an uncertain, maybe even grim horizon.